I think sometimes we overcomplicate things and think we need to reinvent the wheel. And I'm here to tell you that reinventing the wheel is a waste of time because if there's already a blueprint for you of how to become something, then why not just follow the blueprint? So let's not reinvent the wheel. We are going to talk about the habits of millionaires. And some people may think that to become a millionaire, you have to be lucky, right? And I'm here to tell you that after doing some research and going through some trials and tribulations in my own life on how to become wealthy, I realized that becoming a millionaire is all about habits. Hey, family. This is Che Willis coming back with another episode of Wealth is a Journey podcast. Guys, it's episode 161, 161 weeks of consistency, 161 weeks of getting it done. We out in these podcast streets. Guys, Wealth is a Journey is moving and shaking, man. I say it every week, getting different opportunities and just to look and see where we came from to where we are today has been nothing short of amazing. I'm just grateful to God for the opportunity to get over fear because this does come with some fear, especially when you're starting out, starting something new, not knowing what you're doing, and then you just kind of figure it out along the way. But you know that the mission is greater than any of your fears, and the reward is being able to help people, man. So we out here getting to it, and I'm just grateful. So, if you are a first time listener, watcher, subscriber, thank you so much for joining us. On this podcast, we talk about faith, family, and finances, among other things. If you are a return listener, watcher, subscriber, thank you so much for joining us again. Hopefully, we are adding value to your lives on the way to the M's because we are 1000% on the way to the M's. And you may say, Che Willis, what are the M's? The M's are millions, millions in assets. That's exactly what we're doing on this podcast. And you may say, Che Willis, how are we going to get there? Glad you asked. We are going to get there by reducing our expenses. We're going to take that pile of cash. We're going to march it out into the marketplace from reducing our expenses. And we are going to make us some money babies. And if you don't know what money babies are, that's that money that you make that keeps making money for you over and over and over again. And you have to do nothing for it, but just invest. That's it. So that's what we're doing. And hopefully, if you've continued to watch this podcast, you've gotten tips, tricks, and ideas on how to get to your wealth faster. And that's exactly what we're doing on this podcast. So last podcast episode, we talked about The Millionaire Next Door. In our book club, we are reading The Millionaire Next Door. And again, it let me know that I'm and me and my family, excuse me, are on the right road to building wealth and becoming multi-millionaires. And if you don't know what a millionaire is, because there are many people have different ideas of what an actual millionaire is. And a millionaire is basically you have $1 million in assets minus your liabilities. So if you have $1 million in assets and $1 million in liabilities, you are not a millionaire. And so if you have $1 million in assets or $2 million in assets, excuse me, and then $1 million in liabilities, you are a millionaire. So hopefully that'll clear up for you what an actual millionaire is. So you know exactly if you do want to be a millionaire or not, how we're going to do it. Before we get into the episode, we want to define if you, as the listener or watcher, want to be a millionaire or at the very least want to be comfortable. Because if you don't, this is not the episode for you. But what I'll tell you before you turn it off is that even if you want to be a millionaire or you want to be comfortable, you shooting for being a millionaire will make you comfortable because if you miss the goal, at the very least, you'll have a bunch of assets, if that makes sense. So, but if you don't want to be that, Go ahead and turn it off now because I don't want to waste my time or yours. And so, for those who are staying, we are going to talk about the habits of millionaires because I think sometimes we overcomplicate things and think we need to reinvent the wheel. And I'm here to tell you that reinventing the wheel is a waste of time because if there's already a blueprint for you of how to become something, then why not just follow the blueprint? So let's not reinvent the wheel. We are going to talk about the habits of millionaires, and some people may think that to become a millionaire, you have to be lucky, right? And I'm here to tell you that after doing some research and going through some trials and tribulations in my own life on how to become wealthy, I realized that becoming a millionaire is all about habits. So today we're going to talk about a few habits that hopefully will clear up some things for you and let you know if you're on the right road to becoming the millionaire that you want to be, or at the very least, be as comfortable as possible. So, the first thing that millionaires do is they have goals or they have long term vision. In the simplest form, is where do you want to be long term? Do you want to be comfortable? Do you want to be barely getting by? Do you want to be able to help people in your family and in your circle of influence with information and or resources that you've accumulated over time? And what I'll ask you is what is your long-term vision for yourself and for your family, more importantly? And so if it's not, if you're thinking, you're doing your thinking and you're seeing that, hey, you know what? I'm not necessarily going down that road of thinking long term, then it's okay. We can turn the ship around. So for me, the long term goal was to be debt free. Okay. And all of my actions, all of my family's actions lined up with being debt free, meaning that if we got in extra money to from our jobs, from real estate or entrepreneurial endeavors, then those things went towards paying down debt. Why? Because we wanted to be debt free. So hopefully that makes sense. So everything that your long term goal, whatever that looks like, has to line up. Your actions have to line up with what that goal is. So if your long term goal is to be financially stable or wealthy or whatever the case may be, look and see what your habits, at least for this week, are your habits for the from the previous week or the previous year, are they lining up with where you want to be long term based on where your goals are? And if that's not the case, quite all right. Again, you do have time to turn the ship around and change those behaviors because again, wealthy people think long term. So all of their actions line up with the long term thinking. And one of my other long term goals was to uh, retire before the way before the age of 65. And how are we going to do that? We have to accumulate assets. But more importantly, what do we need to accumulate assets? We need money. So, how do we get extra money without having to do a bunch of extra work? We reduce our expenses, which then goes back to what we said earlier. How are we going to get it to the M's? We're going to reduce our expenses. We're going to take that pile of cash. We're going to march it into the marketplace and we're going to make us some money, babies. So, we have a goal again, and all of the things that we do need to march towards the goal. So, since coming up with one wanting to retire early, I'm investing heavily, accumulating assets heavily. So therefore, when the time is right, then I can walk away from, my job or whatever the case may be. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight of what you can do to start your to jumpstart, excuse me, your journey. Think long term. Number two is wealthy people live below their means. This right here is probably the toughest thing for people who grew up poor and then they start getting money. We talked about it last week. We see wealthy people in the streets or whatever the case may be, and they drive nice cars. They have nice jewelry. They have nice uh, clothes. Excuse me, and you have the perception that these people are rich. But if you dig into their financials, they're broke, and that's okay. And a lot of times it's from childhood trauma. A lot of times because you grow up poor, and then and then you start getting money, and you're like, okay, cool. Well, now that I'm getting money, first of all, the money's going to never stop. And then second of all, I'm going to make up for lost times. So all those times when the other kids were making fun of me for not having on, the latest and greatest, or having holes in my sneakers, or having holes in my clothes, or things of that nature. I'm not talking about me specifically. I'm just talking about people in general. But we make up for lost times. So we buy all the luxury items, and then we go from being made fun of to people saying, "Oh my god, that is a beautiful car," or "Oh my god, that's a beautiful pair of shoes or belt or clothes or whatever the case may be." And we enjoy that. And then what do? We end up buying more stuff. And then we get into the habit of buying more stuff to get the pats on the back and to get the accolades of people saying that we have nice things, because we remember when we were poor and we didn't have the nice things. So it feels good. And I understand. However, this behavior is not conducive to you being the millionaire, or for you to be wealthy and or comfortable when it's time for you to walk away from your job. So you end up continually buying more and more stuff and living above your means, trying to fit this persona that you've made up. And what happens is, let's just say you end up making a ton of money. Let's say you start making 200 to $250,000 a year. But then if you start spending 200 to $250,000 a year, you're going to end up being broke. So if you can identify with what I just said, then there's opportunity for you to stop living above your means and just getting by financially and not just looking rich, but you have the opportunity. If you have a high salary, or even if you don't have a high salary, you can still make a dent in your financial future by living below your means. And how do we do that? Goes back to what I said earlier. If we have a high salary, or if we're making money where we have extra left over, instead of blowing the extra, we can start reducing our expenses, like paying things down, and not just paying minimum payments on everything that we owe money on, but taking some of that leftover money and then dumping it on our lowest debt, and then continuing to snowball after we pay the one debt off, and then snowball into the next one, and then continue to do that until the debts are gone, your consumer debts, the credit cards, and things of that nature. Now, you may say, Che, listen, I understand what you're saying, but I want to continue to invest uh, the extra money. I'm here to tell you that that's a bad idea. If you have extra money and you're investing it in the market, I'm going to tell you it's a bad idea. Why am I saying that? Because if your credit card bill and the interest is, let's just say it's 28%, and you're investing in the market and you're getting 12%, the math does not make sense. If you're paying 28% and you're gaining 12%, you're losing 16% or more at the very least, right? So I'm here to tell you that if you just reduce your expenses and get rid of them, then you can dump that money into the stock market if you choose to, as your vehicle to make extra money to then be able to walk away from your job or whatever your long-term goal is, going back to number 1, you're giving yourself options. So, living below your means is something that's very difficult. However, if you look at the long-term goal, whatever that is for you, then it'll make it easier, especially when you start making headway into your financial future. You start seeing wins, you start seeing gains, and then it makes it easier for you to stay disciplined doing the thing. So hopefully that makes sense. Um, so live below your means and make a dent in your financial future by reducing your expenses. Number 3 is rich people, wealthy people, they track their expenses. How do they track their expenses? And not just track their expenses, they track their money, period. And they do that by setting up a budget. I know you don't want to hear that word. I get it. I understand. However, this is something that we're going to have to get over because you will have to track your expenses. If you want to be wealthy, we you will have to track your expenses and you will have to track your money because you have to know where your money's going. Because again, wealthy people don't get wealthy by accident. They don't get wealthy by mistake. They get it by tracking their money, where it's going. So that will give you the opportunity to invest because you know where your money's going every single week or month. So if you think about it, the way 401ks work is the money comes out of your check every month and it's consistently being invested every month or every 2 weeks or whenever you get paid. It's consistently getting invested, but it's being pulled out of somewhere to then go somewhere else. And that's how we need to track our money. So we need to have an assignment like the 401k. We need to have an assignment for our money because, again, we're not going to get wealthy by mistake. So if you set up your budget, that way you can, again, start paying things down. And then at the same time, you can set up an emergency fund. So when emergencies happen, you don't have to stop your investing after you reduce all of your expenses. You do not have to stop investing. You can continue to invest at the same time building your emergency fund back up for the thing that you just paid for, whatever emergency happened. And so those are the things that wealthy people do. They track their spending so they know exactly where their money is going. They don't overpay for subscriptions. They don't just continue to pay minimum payments. They reduce their payments, get rid of them so they have more money to invest. They don't buy the latest and greatest cars all the time and say, okay, well, listen, I can afford that. I'm going to buy it. Because that's another thing, too. Just because you can afford it doesn't mean you can really afford it, especially if you're building for the future. So, um, tracking your spending and your expenses is going to be huge for you. Again, if you're not doing this now, there is opportunity for you to do better. So let's get it done. The number 4 thing, and this is the last thing, is they invest consistently. So I was telling you before, the investment vehicle that I use is real estate and the stock market. And I can tell you, based on my research of doing things on my own, is that consistently investing is going to get you to where you want to be so much faster. Like again, like we talked about the 401k and tracking the spending and things of that nature. The 401k works the same way. You're investing in your 401k for those who have a corporate job. That money is going into an account kind of mindlessly. The money's being pulled out and it's going into an investment vehicle and it's buying you a bunch of shares of mutual funds, or if you're investing in your company, if if the 401k is allowing you to do that, you're consistently buying a bunch of shares. And then those shares hopefully have dividends. And those dividends, if you don't know what a dividend is a basically like a thank you from the company to the shareholder for investing in that company. And then those dividends go back into buying you more shares of the company or the mutual fund. And that's how we make the money babies. We buy the shares, we get dividends. Those dividends buy us more shares. Those shares buy us more dividends, and so forth and so on. And that's how we make the money babies. So wealthy people invest consistently. Not if you're a beginner investor, I'm not throwing shade at you. This is what I thought as well. If I invest $5,000, I let it sit, it's going to run up to $1 million. As a beginner investor, that's what I thought. Because I would invest money and I would just, okay, I'm done. I'm not investing anymore. And then I look at my account and my account will be down. But instead, what wealthy people do, if they see their account down because they're investing consistently, they're going to buy more shares of those companies that they're currently buying consistently. So then when the market goes back up, their account is going back up with the market. So uh wealthy people, again, they are a little bit more strategic than you may currently be right now. I'm learning as well. I'm on this journey right with you. So we have some opportunity. If we're not doing any of those four things, or if we're doing one of the four, if we're not doing all the four things, then there's opportunity for us to do better. Now, if you're not and you need help along the journey, we have the Wealth Builders community where we meet once a month on Zoom. We have weekly accountability as well. And we're all marching in the same direction to be wealthy together. So what that will mean for you is if you need the accountability, if you need that family feel of people rooting you on and cheering you on to whatever your goals are, then join the community because we're here every month and week in and week out talking about our wins and things of that nature. So there is opportunity for you. And then also, if you don't know how to set up a budget, if you don't know the why behind the what, then there's free information on my website that you can go download for free. It does not cost you a dime. There's things also on there for your children as well. So if you're on the journey, why not bring them along with you? So there's opportunity for you, there's opportunity for your family, but it's going to take you to make the decision that I don't want to live like this anymore. I'm going to do something about it because we talk about it every time on this podcast that nobody is coming to save us. So the decision is up to us not to live like we've been living and start living the abundant life that we deserve. But it will not happen independent of your habits. So if you have bad habits now, quite all right. We just need to change them in order to get to where we want to go. Now, if you don't want to go anywhere, don't worry about it. Don't worry about anything I just said. But for those of us who do, let's get to it. We're not getting any younger. So hopefully this helped because we are talking about like millionaires and what they do. And if you're on that journey to become one, what are the tools that you need? So hopefully these four tools that I gave you, and there's plenty more, but I wanted to focus on these four because I feel like they'll be digestible and easy to implement now. So let's get it done, man. Hopefully this helped. Wealth is a journey. We will see you next week. Peace.